Hey, what's up guys? Guardian here, coming to you guys with a deck profile on my Alfred premium deck. Yeah, we are doing a premium deck profile on the channel. It's been about a year since I did a premium profile, more or less. I think the first one and the only one that I did was the Alfred one with King of the Duties Knight Galort when the IG trial deck came out over a year ago now. Yeah, the only reason I looked into that because I thought, hey, people are messing around with the force marker, and yeah, let's see what this is like. And it was pretty nutty. It was pretty nutty. It was fun, but nutty. So, yeah, as you can see in front of you, I've actually decided to lay out my premium deck in front of you all, just so you can actually see the list that I'm playing. So for those of you who don't really want to know my reasonings and stuff like that, then you just have the list there and you just take it. So yeah, I know that you can't really see the names, but I will have the names of the units in the description below, and I'll try to put them in order as well in categories. So yeah. So I kind of wanted to just go through my premium deck and not really do this more of a profile. Like, I'm not going to say like all the names and stuff like that, but I'm just going to go with my through my thinking of this deck and try rationalize why I decided to go a different direction with this. Well, not really different, but try go with the direction I felt comfortable with. So yeah, we'll get stuck into it. So as you can see with the Alfreds up here, I went for 4 early, 3 Monarch, and 1 King. The reason I went for the 1 King was that I did have some occasions where I just didn't have Blaster Blade, like, disposable, and I didn't have it, like, available for me to use. I know that you can search him through your starter, but I feel like Elron should really be used with, like, a bigger combo piece, like something like Larousse or Llew, for example, for, like, multi-attack or just searching out the Flogal with the Larousse. Or even like the Tarna, for example, to rewrite your Alfreds and get more force markers. So that's not too bad there, but yeah, I kind of felt like the 1 King was a nice tech choice just because it does give you that searchability for the Blaster Blade in case you haven't seen it. And also the turn's not too terrible when it comes to a grade 3 ride, because you are getting a 23k swing with Alfred with a 25k swing with Blaster Blade, and that's not too bad. The issue this deck has as a whole, though, that I kind of realized was that you need to play the grade 3 game, and that's very deadly in premium right now, because with the premium collection, the first stride for your opponent is so deadly that you're more than likely going to die. And this kind of rationalizes my choices with the other Alfreds, is that I think Alfred Early is the better one just because he actually gives you a draw, and that's really valuable, I think, because not only could that give you a combo piece, for example, to push your turn, but it could also give you something like a heal trigger or a perfect guard or just something defensive to help you survive your opponent's turn when it comes up, because yeah, it's going to be pretty deadly to say the least. But I feel like if you deteriorate away from this deck strategy too much, you're just going to be hurting yourself in the long run. Like, although the game is in a current state at the moment, you need to do what the deck does well. And what this deck does well is generate force markers and smack the opponent with Blaster Blade and restand it with Flogal. So stick to the game plan with that and just don't really change it too much. But I think I've rationalized the choice there with Early, because the fact that it does draw you a card. And with Monarch, I like the fact that he pumps up your Blaster Blades by an additional 5k shield. The power is nice, don't get me wrong, so you could ride him for your grade 3 ride. But I really value the shield increase, just because he could Soul Blast a Blaster Blade out your soul that you've ridden, and recycle it for you, as well as later in the game, if that happens, to recycle Blaster Blade from the drop zone. But he also provides that extra shield output, which means you can defend a bit more better with your Blaster Blades on field or in your hand with the 10k shield that Blaster Blade now has. So that's pretty cool, but I don't think it's as good as Early, of course, because I value a draw more than a 5k shield increase. So that's kind of like my thinking there. And I already explained the 1 King as well, just to have as a toolbox with the starter and the Tarna. So that's that. We have the 4 Blaster Blade, of course, the main star of the deck. Don't really need to explain why he's there. But I will say he is your best ride target in this deck, just because he's the only 10k base we have, which is quite frightening at times where you don't ride him. But it's just, yeah, it's just the way the deck is in a minute. I mean, I'm always open to opinions and other card options that you guys may have, so do drop your suggestions in the comments. But yeah, 4 Blaster Blade. The 4 Larousse, I really like playing 4 just because it's just too much of a combo piece to extend your plays. It really just helps you win the game. So I feel like that important of a card needs to be a 4 of, in my opinion. I know that you can search for these grade 2s with some cards down here, like your new G unit and the Altmile. But yeah, I just want to make sure I've got enough of them to work with, So moving on from that, we have the 3 Llew, which I actually think 3 is a good number for him because I wanted to play the 2 Tarna in the deck at minimal. And Tarna, I feel as though, is just too powerful not to play. I understand that it's not good in the late game because it's just a vanilla at that point and with a 5k shield, but it doesn't mean you can't use it for other things. You could use any dead Tarnas that you don't need or you can't use. For things like your Perfect Guard. And you can also use it for like your Larousse to put it into Soul for its skill. So there are other things you can use dead cards for. So it's not completely dead, but I feel like Tarna's just too good not to play in here. So that's why I wanted to play at least 2 of them. I don't really like running 3 or 4. That's just me though. But the Llew though, the fact that we can search the booster that Llew needs, which is for Paladin Flogal, the fact that we can search this with Larousse, I really, really love. Because these two just synergize with each other so well. The Llew can actually go search for the Larousse as well because it's a grade 2 blaster. So if you have the Flogal and you have the Llew, you can use those two to go to get the Larousse to then go get more pieces that you need for your combo. And yeah, it's actually really, really cool. I quite like it. And one other factor about Llew is that with him going into Soul, it actually feeds your Soul, which actually comes in handy for things like your Lien Perfect Guard and just Soul Blasting in general, since you have the Paccgal down here as well. So that's that. So then we have the 4 Stride Fodder. I think 4 is reasonable. I understand that you might not want to run 4, you might want to run a bit less, but it makes sense to me just because we're planning to rewrite our Alfreds a lot. And yeah, I think 4 is just there just for the consistency, but depending on the early game, especially with how it goes, 4 may not be required. Because like I said, the first turn Striders is so powerful, the 4 kind of feels a bit redundant at that point, but something that I've been thinking about potentially is taking 2 Stride Fodders out for maybe 2 copies of the V-Series Wingle, the one with the 10k shield and the continuous skill of making the Blaster Blade on your field get an additional 5k power. That could actually work out pretty well, and I might actually test that because it's also searchable through your Larousse as well, with it being a high beast. So that's actually pretty cool. So yeah, 4 Stride Fodder for now, but you could drop this down to maybe 2 maybe, but I'm just playing 4 just to be a bit safe there. But like I said, the Wingles could be a nice addition for the deck there, since you could actually use the Wingle with your Merengue Guard as well for additional shield power, just in case the Perfect Guard is not going to be good enough. So that's that. Then we have the Paccgal, of course. This is your countercharger. I think 4 of them is okay, and I think the one thing about Paccgal that I like the most is, yeah, sure, it countercharges 2 for you, but it also is a 5k base, and your base power is actually really important in Premium just because it means the difference between getting damage denied and not. And 5k is actually pretty reasonable. I don't think there's that many other clans that can go below 5, so more times than often, you should be able to maintain a low enough power so that your opponent has no choice but to give you Counterblast, and that's really, really cool. But it does have a negative to it, which is it does open you up to rush. So do bear that in mind. It does have a positive, but also has a negative. So yeah. Now, with the Perfect Guards, I decided to go with 2 Lien and 2 Iseult. The reason for this was that I wanted to have 2 Iseult so that my Meren had enough of them to work with, so that I always have the option of going for that deck Perfect Guard, just in case I can't use any from my hand. So that's a really cool thing about Royals and Premium, is that they can actually PG from the deck, and actually some guard restrictions say that you just can't use grade 1s from your hand. So this is a nice way for us to sort of get around that mechanic. So that's really cool. So I kind of like having the 2 there just because there are times where you might damage check it or you might draw early game. So I like to have the 2 just as a safety net. And the Lien is just a really powerful Perfect Guard in general. It's really good for the late game when you actually do get to that striding step. It'll really help you with just defending yourself because it's just a 1-card Perfect Guard for a Soul Blast. I think that's really valuable. I would like to play 3 of it, to be honest, but I just don't like the idea of just having the 1 Iseult in here. So yeah, I don't know. But that's what I've got so far. The Elron, of course, for the starter, really, really powerful in the Alfred deck. Now the triggers, and this is actually one of the reasons why I have this Perfect Guard lineup, is the triggers. So we can actually play 12 crit in this, which I think is really, really cool. So we have the 4 Premium Critical with the Eagle. Fun fact, by the way, is that you can actually call this from the deck with Larousse because it's a high beast. I don't think you would do that, but the fact that you can is something to take into mind, just in case. But yeah, you'd rather keep the crits in your deck for the Blaster Blade, just to stack them on it. So that's the thing there. We have the 4/4 Paladin Flogal, of course, so that we can use this with our Llew, and also we restand our Blaster Blade. So yeah, we're going to search this out with our Larousse, so that's really cool. We have the 4 Standard Flogal down here, just for the 10k power, 15k shield, which is really nice in the early game for nice defensive players. And then we have the heal trigger as well for the G Guardians, but I decided to stick with just the V heals, just because the 20k shield is actually pretty good, just in case that rush play does come at me if I do go for the Paccgal ride. So I kind of like that. But yeah, the heal triggers are a given. So yeah. So now for the G zone, we have 2 copies of Gancelot, 2 Alfred, 2 Altmile, then 2 copies of I keep forgetting this guy's name. Absolute Twin Sword, I think he is. Twin Absolutes, Saint of Twin Sword. I think 2 of him is enough. I don't know if I'd run more. I think 2's fine. The G zone's actually pretty tight, but there is some changes you could actually do to this, like this over here. So yeah, the Progenitor Dragon Agnos is not particularly great in this deck. You're probably wondering why it's in here. Well, I just stuck it in here because I've got it. I had nothing else to put in. I couldn't think of anything else. But what you could do is that if Link Joker ever becomes a problem in the future, we always have the easily accessible switch that we can do by taking out maybe 1 Gancelot and this Agnos for then 2 copies of Holy Squire Dragon. So that allows us to give us the unlock against the Link Joker matchup, but I don't think Link Joker's been doing anything as far as I'm aware, so I'm quite happy just to keep this how it is. So yeah. But yeah, 2 Gancelot may be a bit too much. You could probably just run 1 of it and get away with it fine. But sometimes I like having the second one there as an option, just because I'll probably flip 1 up for my Absolute Twin Sword, just to get the resist effect online for Blaster Blade, depending on the matchup. But there will be games where maybe I have my pieces already, and I just want to get the extra drive check from Gancelot, and maybe get the counter charge as well for resource management. So that's the thing there. The 2 Alfred's just a nice option as well, just for the multiple drive checks as well, the 5 drive checks on the turn, which is cool. Also, I kind of like the interaction that it gives it an extra 3k as well. It gives the Blaster Blade 3k, so then it meets force numbers, which I think is really funny. Altmile's just a free card. If you're struggling for resources, but you still need pieces, Altmile can actually go fetch you those pieces for just no resource. It's literally just a persona flip of itself, and then it gives the front row 3000 power that turn. And also, you can call a grade 2 from your deck with an additional 5000 power. So that's actually really cool. It's actually not too bad. So I kind of like it as like a toolboxy card, but yeah. The main card, which I really love, is Absolute Twin Sword. I keep mixing his name up. Twin Absolutes, Saints of Twin Sword. Yeah. I'm getting used to his name. Sorry. But yeah, 2 copies of him I think is good. Of course, the effect that he has where he can call 2 grade 2s from your deck is good, and he needs to be boosted for that with a counterblast. That's good, don't get me wrong. But I love his second effect, which is whenever a unit is called from your deck. In fact, I actually want to read this properly so I don't mess it up. So whenever your rearguard is placed from your deck, that unit gets 5000 power till the end of the turn for each face-up card in your G zone. So yeah, it's actually pretty insane because it synergizes really well with Llew up here, because that means if your Llew uses its skill to call something from the deck, it's going to get a power increase because of Saints of Twin Sword being on the field. And depending on how many cards are face up in your G zone, it's going to get a pretty big spike in power. And if you apply that with your force markers as well, that's something you could look at too. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I think 2 of it's enough though, because you're probably going to go into it once, and then, once you've got enough G units face up, the second one's going to be quite deadly. So yeah, that's pretty cool there. Then we have the G guards of just one. Well, actually, we'll get to the dragons first. So I've already explained Agnos. He's just not as great in Royals, in my opinion. I think he's okay, but he's so situational. He's more times than often he's just not worth going into. So, like I said, you could probably replace this with something else that you have in mind, and any suggestions that you have. And then you could probably replace this in a Gancelot maybe for the Holy Squire. So that's an option there. We then have the 1 Ultima, which is just an endgame card. It's just a really nice way to finish the game. Yeah, your opponent's always going to be looking out for this card, so just bear this in mind. But yeah, just stacking 2 standard crits onto your deck, and then if you put like some Flogals behind it, maybe on a Blaster Blade, yeah, it gets pretty deadly. It does cost a lot of counterblast in hindsight, but overall, it's pretty deadly. Then we have the G-Guards of Dismal, Racktome, quite like. This is just to protect Blaster Blade, of course, and then Racktome is just to fix hands, ditch something to draw something else, maybe to look for another piece, or just to get something, more valuable, like a Perfect Guard, or something that could defend you, maybe, in case you're struggling. Paccgal actually became a lot better because of this card now, because he of course flips up a G Guardian to use his skill, so that gives you more GB count towards using it for the Twin Sword skill of getting more and more power on the units that you're calling from your deck. So that's actually really cool. So I think this card got a lot better. You could maybe run a second one, but I'm okay just running the one for now. But you could up it to two, maybe swap the Racktome out for that. The one Iseult, I think Iseult's good. With this deck, Counterblast management isn't too difficult, just because you have like a Countercharge 2 unit in this deck, which is just really solid. So I think Iseult has actually got room in here to work, kind of. I don't know. It's another situational card, but the main unit of the G-Guards is, of course, Merrin. And yeah, I've always loved Merrin in this deck for like a G-Guard option, just because it can fetch out a grade 1 or greater unit from your deck, and the fact that it can go get the old Perfect Guards is really, really cool. I really like that. And you can just Perfect Guard from the deck. So that's really cool. It does suck in hindsight that I don't have any like standard grade 1s. Again, it's one of the reasons that I've been thinking about putting a Wingull in here, maybe 1 or 2 Wingull to swap out with the Stride Fodder. But I don't know yet. That's probably a change I might do. So yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, Merrin's just a solid G-Guard overall. And then, of course, the final thing is our markers. So yeah, that is it for my premium deck. I feel like I've kind of explained it okay-ish. You could probably go a bit more further in depth with this deck, but I kind of wanted to give it a simplistic sort of spread on the on the field here, so that you can see everything. So if you want just the list, here it is. But and like I said, I'll have all the names of the cards in the description below. But if you guys have any suggestions for this deck, I'm more than open to it. I am looking to maybe make this deck a bit better. I don't know exactly how it could change in the future, but we do have more royal support coming out, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, the deck hasn't really changed that much since a year ago. The main additions that we got was like King, Monarch, and then of course the premium stuff as well. So, and of course new triggers. But I mean, the core of the deck more or less kind of stayed the same. We just sort of tweaked a few of the cards here and there. But yeah, overall, I definitely recommend people to try Premium out a bit more, just because it is a very technical format. It's not just on face value, just keep swinging and, you're looking good. You've actually got to take in the mind what you're versing and be a bit more smart about your plays. Because yeah, if you don't take it too seriously enough, then you're just going to die, essentially. But like I said, it is fun just because of the card interactions that it offers, because we're mixing old cards and new cards, and you can get some pretty nutty stuff off in there. So yeah, that's it going to be for the video. I think it's long enough, and glad it wasn't longer. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will be coming at you guys with some more premium decks on my Gold Paladin deck, and hopefully at some point I should get a Blaster deck made as well for premium, so we'll see about that. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and like always, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Guardian, signing out.